The teacher entered the classroom and immediately noticed that these students were playing around with each other. Some were cooking instant noodles, others were playing the guitar. This was the first class for this teacher. He calmly approached the students cooking noodles and told one of them that the sodium content in each seasoning packet exceeded the standard limit, and consuming too much could increase blood pressure. Therefore, they should only eat 1/3 of a packet each time. He then went to the student playing the guitar and taught him how to adjust the sound for optimal quality. Next, he noticed a female student reading a car magazine. Realizing that he was gradually capturing the attention of the students. Almost everything the students were doing, he could relate it to accurate knowledge. However, for the lazy students, mere words were not enough, so he employed his second tactic. A light but impactful punishment was administered, demonstrating a high level of discipline. He tied a rubber band to a piece of chalk and skillfully shot it towards the fire sprinkler switch. The students got wet as if they were mice caught in a trap. This is a scene from a school-themed movie called Master Brother, starring Donnie Yen. In the film, he plays Tran Heap, a homeroom teacher with a special forces background, and it carries profound educational significance. In the context of today's emphasis on grading, the most significant feature of Tran Heap's teaching style is that he does not confine students to a rigid framework. He understands that students often dislike studying, so he devised a method. If they could answer his 3 questions, they could leave class immediately. Initially skeptical, the students became excited when Tran Heap presented 3 questions related to the components found in cigarettes, and one student answered all 3 correctly. True to his word, Tran Heap allowed the student to leave immediately, sparking enthusiasm among the students, even those who typically disliked studying. However, there was still one rebellious student who openly questioned the teacher's teaching style in front of the class. After a while, the teacher talked about science, then switched to economics, and later discussed philosophy. It was challenging to predict, was he teaching free education? Hearing this, he explained, "I don't require you to memorize the constellations on the ceiling or the geography on the wall. I want you to understand. Only with knowledge can you have the ability to make judgments. Only then can you distinguish between right and wrong." After saying this, the class fell silent for the first time. It wasn't that these students didn't understand ethics, rather, few had sincerely spoken about these principles with them. In the eyes of ordinary teachers, they were just a group of hopeless students, making them increasingly disinterested in learning. They constantly rebelled against the teachers, using various tactics to shield themselves and retaining only a little respect for their educators. Tran Heap's class was just a miniature model of this junior high school, which was one of the worst educational institutions in the region. For several years, no student from this school had passed the university entrance exam. However, when faced with these unruly students, Tran Heap remained unwavering in his commitment. One day, 5 students from Tran Heap's class got into a fight with students from another class, escalating to the point where the police had to be called. The principal considered expelling these 5 troublemakers. Upon learning of this, Tran Heap approached the principal, pleading for leniency. He proposed that if each student wrote a self-critique, they could continue attending school. 4 students took their self-critiques and returned to class, leaving only the most stubborn student who chose to drop out. Observing the determined posture of this rebellious teenager, Tran Heap became even more resolute, determined to save this misguided young man. No one is born defiant. Behind these mischievous students often lies a broken family. Working late into the night to sift through the students' files, Tran Heap began delving into the backgrounds of these 5 students. The first was a student who played the guitar, teased by friends for his dark skin. Even the police had prejudices against him, often seeing him, a young African descent, as a potential troublemaker. Despite his love for singing, constant mockery prevented him from taking the stage. Next was a tomboyish girl, whose parents favored her younger brother. Since his birth, her parents had showered all their love and attention on the younger sibling, leaving her neglected. Consequently, she became rebellious from a young age, preferring to play with toy cars. The last 2 were twin siblings. Their mother had abandoned them when they were little. Since then, their father turned into an alcohol-fueled aggressor. Such a shattered family ultimately gave rise to 2 rebellious students, the younger brother immersed in gaming, while the older one struggled with inherent concentration issues. For the latter, every task required significantly more effort than others. However, the only missing piece in the student profiles was the one student unwilling to sign the self-critique. After reviewing the profiles, the next step was to visit each student's home, personally delving deeper into the family circumstances of these students. At the home of the guitar player, Tran Heap happened to encounter a group of 10 individuals chasing after him. Without saying much, Tran Heap quickly borrowed a machete and stood in front of the young man. Although it was later realized that this was just a misunderstanding, it offered a glimpse into the challenging environment in which the guitar player had grown up. Finally, under Tran Heap's encouragement, he courageously stood up and sang in front of everyone for the first time. The closed heart of this stubborn young man gradually opened up. Tran Heap also visited the parents of the twin siblings. Under his persuasion, the alcoholic father decided to enter a rehabilitation center. For the first time, he expressed his heartfelt feelings to his 2 sons and sincerely apologized. Although the apology was somewhat belated, like a drop of blood turning the tide, it could touch the deepest parts of their hearts, reaching their most vulnerable spots. As for the tomboyish girl who loved playing with toy cars, Tran Heap's approach was to challenge challenge her to a race against her father. If she won, her father would support her interest in racing. Unexpectedly, during the race, they faced a sudden accident, but fortunately, no one was injured. Through this accident, the tomboyish girl felt her father's love for the first time. It turned out that her father did care for her, he just struggled to express his emotions. The most challenging case for Tran Heap was Akong. At the age of 5, Akong's parents died in a car accident. Raised by his grandmother, he took on all the responsibilities as she struggled to provide for the family. Akong had to work from a young age, not because he disliked school, but because the most urgent need was to earn money to support the family. Tran Heap went to the boxing gym where Akong worked and unexpectedly saw him being held back by someone. It turned out that, in order to make a living, he had been exploited and mistreated by a cruel boss, leading to his detainment. To save Akong, Tran Heap had to engage in combat with professional fighters. They fought relentlessly, and Heap showed no signs of stopping. Fortunately, the police arrived in time to resolve the situation. The entire group was taken to the police station, but thanks to Tran Heap's guarantee, Akong was released. In the end, that rebellious teenager also cracked a grateful smile on his long, cold and stoic face. Unexpectedly, the combat scene between Tran Heap and the boxer was recorded by someone and uploaded to the internet the next day. Thanks to a well-aimed punch, Tran Heap became a hero in the eyes of the students. His story gradually unfolded in the media, revealing that Tran Heap was also a former student of the same school. Back then, Tran Heap was the most notorious student in the school. He had even broken the arm of a fellow student. Due to being expelled, his only relative, his sister, heartlessly sent him to the United States. As he grew up, Tran Heap joined the military and became a Marine. On the battlefield, amidst rainstorms of bombs and bullets, he deeply realized the cruelty of war and became more conscious of the fragile nature of life. The cruelest part, however, was that no matter how hard one tried, countless lives would still be sacrificed in vain. Ultimately, what was the meaning of life? He began contemplating his own philosophy of life. From that point on, he, despite wandering everywhere, became a traveler with a backpack on his back. In the beautiful landscapes of his homeland, he sought to understand the dynamics of the world. Finally, he found the answer to his question, nurturing the next generation. Using his experience and understanding to inspire mischievous children like himself, he helped guide them onto the right path. Thus, he returned to his old school, taking on the role of an older brother to become an exemplary teacher, educating and guiding students. From then on, his class underwent a complete transformation compared to the laziness of the past. Every student grew under Tran Heap's encouragement, focusing more on their studies. The classroom atmosphere became livelier, and Tran Heap's teaching methods received praise from the principal and colleagues. The overall learning atmosphere in the school underwent astonishing changes. However, while everyone was trying to change for the better, the older twin in the pair secretly used tranquilizers for an extended period due to academic pressure, eventually leading to nervous exhaustion. He jumped off a building and sustained severe injuries. After the media reported the incident, it quickly became a serious issue in the education system. This tarnished the reputation of a place that was already notorious. The education department launched an internal investigation against Tran Heap. Despite Tran Heap's best efforts, his innovative educational methods were bound to face controversy and criticism. Finally, in his role as a homeroom teacher, Tran Heap took responsibility for himself and was expelled from the school. On the day he left, all the students rushed out to try to keep him, but Tran Heap knew that he had completed his mission. The remaining journey was for these young people to walk on their own, so he decisively left the school. This event quickly caused a chain reaction. In a direct dialogue with parents, countless parents jostled to request transfers for their children. Finally, the principal, to safeguard his honor, advised everyone to calmly listen to him explain the school's new education policy for students. Under the patient explanation of the teacher, a well-rounded development plan touched the hearts of every parent. The parents' anger gradually subsided, and now they just had to wait to see if this year's enrollment targets were met. While taking the Level 2 exams in Hong Kong, all students achieved remarkable results. This proved that Tran Heap's teaching method was correct and could help the school gain fame, reversing the risk of closure. All students were diligent and constantly striving, but on the day of the exam, the cruel boss had previously harmed Akong, unexpectedly blocking this group of students. It turned out that a wealthy businessman intended to exploit the school's land to build a high-rise residential area, waiting only for the education department to announce demolition. So, the wealthy businessman called the cruel boss to obstruct the students' exam. This would decrease the enrollment rate of the school, ensuring its closure. The wealthy businessman could then make a fortune. Fortunately, Tran Heap discovered the evil plot in time and confronted the henchmen, defeating them. In the decisive battle against the boss, both were evenly matched. It was then that Tran Heap realized this person was his former classmate, the one he had accidentally broken the arm of. Unbeknownst to him, his careless actions had ruined the life of his classmate. From being an excellent student with outstanding academic achievements, this classmate had had turned into a greedy person chasing money. For someone harboring so much hatred, this was the culmination they had been waiting for. In the end, Tran Heap lowered his fists and apologized to his former classmate. A belated apology, but in the end, the students entered the exam room on time. However, the results were no longer as important as before. They had gained confidence. Above all, they understood the importance of learning. In the days to come, they wanted to carry the light that Tran Heap had brought and continue to spread it to others. Alright, our review is ending here. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for our upcoming movies.